Before we get started, just to show how important it is that we do this correctly, here's an example of a transmitter that was in a case where it wasn't sealed properly and water got inside. Now this transmitter stopped working after about 45 days, and you can see why. Water got in the case and completely ruined the transmitter. It's covered in rust, and there's an area of some black marks and some pitting where there was potentially an electrical issue, and the transmitter is completely non-functional. So it's really important that we follow this battery change procedure properly, and especially when we're applying the lube to the O-ring that we put on the back of the transmitter housing, that we're generous with that. Make sure to put enough that we get a good seal. So as you can see, we have a CS transmitter from Project Lifesaver here. This is in the oval case, which uses the 1/2-inch bands, and you may also encounter the round cases, which use the 1-inch bands. For the purposes of a battery change, though, the supplies and the procedure are going to be identical for either one of these cases. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and remove the back from the transmitter housing. And as soon as we get the back off, we're going to use our Sharpie marker to mark the battery in some way to indicate that it's the old one that we're taking out. We don't want to take the battery out and set it down and then lose track of which one is new and which one is old when it's time to put everything back together. And then we can take the transmitter out. And the transmitter, you can see, has the frequency number written on it. And also there's going to be a 30 or 60 written on there, and that tells you how the transmitter is programmed with regards to battery changes. It needs a battery change either every 30 days or every 60 days. Once we've got everything apart, we're going to go ahead and use our lint-free towel to clean off the back of the housing, to remove all of the lube that was on there previously, and also wipe off the O-ring. And then we're going to use our tool to remove the O-ring. And you also want to inspect that for any damage. If there's anything apparent or if there's any doubt, just go ahead and replace the O-ring with a new one. So now that we've got everything taken apart, cleaned and inspected, it's time to go ahead and reassemble it. So we're going to go ahead and put our transmitter back in. And we're going to put our new battery in, and we're going to set that off to the side. Now we're going to apply lube to the groove that the O-ring sits in on the housing. And again, you want to be generous with this lube to make sure that we get a really good seal once everything's put back together. And now we're going to slide our O-ring back on. And we slide it on over the back of the housing rather than rolling it down across the threads on the other side. We don't want to do that because that could also damage the O-ring when we're reassembling it. And once the O-ring's back in its groove, we're going to go ahead and put another line of lube on the other side of it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put the back of the housing back on. And we're going to use the key to make sure that we get it tightened down into place. And when we're tightening this, you want to tighten it down enough to make sure that the back of the housing is flush with the rest of the case. If you don't tighten it enough, you can have water get inside the case. But also if you tighten it too much, that could damage the O-ring, which would also allow water to get in. So you just want to make sure that the two pieces are flush with one another. And then as the last step, we want to go ahead and take our RF tester and hold it up to the transmitter and verify that we've got a signal. So that completes the battery change procedure for a Project Lifesaver CS transmitter. And thanks for watching.